Richard, this is really, I mean, you're here in large part because everyone wants to be more popular than they are. Everyone wants to, you know, have some degree of celebrity. And I have to ask you, before we even get into it, what do you make of kind of the celebrity meme of the moment, Caitlyn Jenner?
Oh, Caitlyn, yes. Well, that's famous, which is different from what we're going to talk about today, which is a lot more realistic. I refer to it as, you'll see it, there'll be a quiz, by the way, on that stuff. I refer to it as pragmatic notoriety. But the thing about the Jenner situation is that it would be really great for Wheaties to hire her now because they could pay her 25% less. Okay, what do I think of it?
Anticipated groans. The internet is lighting up right now.
Get the groans out of the way.
Yeah, I mean, what's your take on this?
Well,
we're not talking about the sex change.
No. Oh, I thought we were talking about the sex change.
We're talking about all the
well, the Kardashian scenario has really kind of hurt the population, if you will, because you know, now you've got a whole generation of people thinking that that's real work, what they do, and that everybody wants to have their own reality show and everybody wants to be. But in terms of Bruce Jenner, I mean, I can't tell you how much this appears like it's all being done for money, because there's nothing,
of the steps.
Yeah, the steps that have been taken. Certain things said to E, certain things said to ABC, certain things said to Vanity Fair, certain things said, all gearing up to an 8-part TV series, and then there's a movie being planned. There's no doctor involved, so it's not to be too cynical about it, but why not? Jenner's had quite a run on this with the Kardashians, and of course, I don't know if you know, but he used to be a sports figure too. So it's a shame because I would like to think that people would look at the Kardashian family, if you will, all those kids. I think they just invented a new one. They bring them in, and there's another one, that to think that an entire generation of kids looks up to this is actually kind of pathetic, and now that deserves groans. No, but it's not going anywhere. It's been on for 10 years, and it'll be on for another 10 years until Kim Kardashian marries every single person that she can think of that's more famous than she is.
So that is not the kind of fame that you're talking about.
No, that is not the kind of fame.
So let's talk about how is pragmatic notoriety, that kind of how to fame commandments that you're writing about, how is that different from the kind of fame we see in the tabloids?
Well, let me start by telling you guys how I came to this. I've been running a PR firm for 25 years, and 5 or 6 years ago, I noticed that I represent companies, but I noticed that the people that were part of the companies that were spokespeople that were trying to get their way out there, were trying to become more known, were really screwing up. And what I saw was, I saw that the internet had and social media and everything had shifted. So, it used to be, from say 1995 until 2008 or so, everything was about personalization, and you got your mydailynews.com, myplayboymagazine.com, everything was sent to you, and you became interested in things, and then it came your way. And in 2008, everything online started to change, where we became connected in a way that nobody had ever dreamed would ever happen, and instead of being interested, it became more important to be interesting. And so How to Fame came out of this idea that I've tested on about 30 case studies now. We call them guinea pigs. And what it comes down to is that people have to look at themselves as their own public figure, if you will. That because of all of this networking...
People or brands, I assume.
People or brands, but mostly people. Yes, brands, of course. But the thing about personal branding, I like to think of this as personal branding on steroids. That a person goes out there and tweets and goes on LinkedIn and is on Facebook and is instant messaging everybody they know and is texting and is calling people, not hardly ever, and what they're doing is they're kind of wasting equity in that you have every opportunity to differentiate yourself with that one thing. In PR, we refer to it as messaging. You have something of yourself, whether it's a brand or a person, and what you're doing is you're just sort of floating out there with all this information, and you're not thinking about the recipient. And the recipient what the recipients want, quite honestly, is they want expertise. They want to know that you're that person they could depend upon for this one thing. And the more that people understand their own messaging and who they are, and and stop saying things like, "Well, I am what I am," because that doesn't work anymore. But really go out there and put that one differentiator to work on every single thing you do and every conversation that you have and everywhere you go. This is how the fame level rises, and this is the basic theory and also practice of pragmatic notoriety.
Okay, so
and thank you very much. Any questions? No.
So let's consider an audio brand or a brand that's born in the audio space. What are some steps that audio brand might go through to kind of maximize its fame potential?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, the audio world is obviously in flux. We've heard everybody talking about it today. I believe that a lot of brands underestimate their audience, and the way I see audio, and I'm peripherally in this field with clients and broadcasters that I work with, is that and we saw it with Serial, that there is no sense of teasing out the information about that brand, starting with something small, building upon it, getting people excited about it, not underestimating the audience.
Creating drama.
Yeah, drama out, exactly, yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to stop there.
No, that's good. Give me some examples, some really good examples of brands which have kind of mastered this formula.
Well, I mean, the obvious examples are things like Apple that go out there and build upon one specific idea. It's funny, I like to think of Google as the sort of ultimate PR player, because they don't do a lot of PR, but what they do is they have built upon this one message, which is the democratization of everything. Whatever brand whatever they pick up, whatever they do, even their missteps have always been messaged as the democratization of X, Y, or Z. And I respect that a lot. Personally speaking, I think you do a pretty great job with your own brand. I know that's brown-nosing, but why not? Let's give him a hand. Come on. I say that because you stand behind what you do, and you don't try to be 10 different people. That really is the problem with most brands, is that everything is so short-lived, and everything is so built on the idea of, in the PR and advertising world, we refer to it as gemut. Get me one of those, right? You see something, you run after it. You see something, and then another bright, shiny object comes in, and you run after that. And you don't do that, and I respect you for that. And I think it's important. I think when it comes to looking at people and the way they run their brands, I mean, it is kind of funny. We're one of the tenets of pragmatic notoriety is this idea that people aren't really paying attention to the language anymore. And the rare person that takes the grammar seriously and actually spells out Y-O-U and, and writes things down that matter and stands behind the things they say and is resolute about who they are and what they stand for and what they are, those are the people that get ahead much faster. And, it seems like something that is common sense, but I think it was Aristotle that said there's nothing common about common sense. So it is definitely something that the more I try it out on people, the more I do case studies, the more I do histories of other people that have either succeeded or failed, the more I see that this is, we're in a really good, this network world we live in is such a great time for us to take advantage of the fact that, every single person that we interact with, regardless of how old or young or what they are to us, what they're looking for is They're looking for something to talk about, right? They're looking for something to report. And we have the ability to give them that if we're consistent about what we put out there, if we actually say the thing that we stand for, what is our differentiator, what goes out there, and what makes us stand for who we are, and that is a form of fame that corporate citizens, if you will, who take that seriously, go very far with.
But you've hit on something interesting, because you said that giving people something to talk about, that's different from simply positioning.
It is
That's different from simply promoting what we stand for.
Right.
Giving people fuel in a social economy to share with others is really a critical distinction.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, we're talking about brands that, are dealing with the general public or a certain population of the general public, certain demographics. There is a sense that you want to sidle up to them and tell them something they didn't already know, which is very difficult. And it is a process that brands are going through right now, where they're saying to themselves, here I am trying to grab a hold of a demographic that doesn't really necessarily need me anymore, because they can time shift everything and they can do whatever they want. But what can I say to them? How can I smack them in the head to make them realize that what I have to say is not only worth their while to pay attention to, but also is something that they want to share with the people that they share with every single minute of every single day, which is all there really is. I mean, it's kind of funny, we joke about it in my field that every mistake that a brand makes gets out there much quicker than anything good that they do. And we did some consulting a couple of years ago with Burger King, because they were in a crisis, so they told us, because people were making fun of the king. Remember the king, that gross
That Scary King? The Scary King.
The Scary King. Yeah. And we were, our firm, we were thrilled for them, because the idea that people were actually talking about Burger King was shocking, because it's Burger King. So we had them play along. We pushed them to play along with it and actually do some of their own work in making sure that they knew, because the king was disgusting. But that's okay, because the fact that people were spending so much of their time on this king was unbelievable. It was the most attention they'd gotten, since Subservient Chicken. I don't know if any of you guys know about that.
Another shareability.
Blog it.
Yeah.
Shareability, yeah.
So does that mean that if a message isn't worth sharing, it may not be worth much?
If a message isn't worth sharing, it's going to drop. It's going to drop quickly. If you don't have, it's the whole underestimating thing again. If you don't have that scintilla of an idea, that one point that you really want to drive home, that people will go, holy crap, that's different. That's new for me. That's a message I haven't heard before. I'm thrilled about it. I mean, it was funny, like a boring brand like Hyundai, not Honda, but Hyundai, came out with this whole idea that they were going, this was during the recession, that they were going to take your car back if you got laid off, that they weren't going to charge you any fees for it. It was an enormous idea that they didn't actually take very seriously. They just sort of put it out there, and they got so much attention for it. We actually did a little work with them at the time. It was very difficult for them because they weren't used to getting attention, and they had to back it up. They had to back up all these. Not so much people weren't doubting them, but they needed to know what that actually meant to the general public and also to the population they were trying to reach out to.
You've talked about some of the what to do's. Give me, by way of example, some of the what not to do's. What are some bad examples of?
Well, I mean, I can talk about them because the book's coming out early next year, and there were some people in there that disappointed me, I guess. We do have this amazing opportunity. I mean, this idea of being interested versus being interesting may seem trivial on the outset, but when you think about it, when you think about how you get your information, which is basically found information that people send to you, if you are what I call the magnet, the person that people depend upon for information on a topic, that goes a long, long way, because they share it with people who share it with people who share it with people, and they always come back for more. And the good news is it's a boomerang effect. They also share with you. Mm-hmm. This is how people get informed. And being informed is a good thing in a really noisy world that we live in right now.
Final question. What advice would you give to the fame-seeking air talent, or the fame-seeking podcast creator, or the fame-seeking online radio host? What would you, these people who toil behind the microphone, what advice would you give to them?
Where do we start? I would think that one of the great things about being a so-called personality, of which I've done a lot, I've worked with a lot of them in the past, and some of them have good personalities, and some, no, never mind. That being able to show a little mystery in allowing your personality, if you will, if the things that you say and the things that you do, to go out there and make sure, this is a point that I've been thinking about a lot as I've been putting this book together, is that there's a sense that, that people forget that you are a public person in many respects. Everybody in this room is in some respects. But the question always comes up, what do you stand for? Like, what do you believe in? What are you certain about? These are things that people actually care about. Where do you stand on issues? I mean, issues are important. I mean, people poo-poo them all the time. They say, well, they don't want to hear about that. But they do, because we're talking about people. Mm-hmm. And you're communicating something that, again, in that land of the T's, you want to get out there. You want to make sure that people want to come back for more. You want to be resolute and stand on those issues, on those topics that you believe in, and that, most importantly, that it's, and I say this to people all the time, that it's not just about the technology. It can't be about the technology. It has to be about who you are, what you put out there, and again, what is that differentiator? What is that idea that and it's interesting, one of the things that I tell my clients a lot is that, they're hanging out with the wrong crowd. That their friends are not necessarily going to be the ones to test out what it is that they stand for. You need to find new people. It's like every sports movie ever made. You got to throw away all your old friends and make new friends. And these new people, you have to try these things out. You have to know what you stand for, and you have to put it out there, and you have to see whether or not that magnet effect actually works. But you can't do it with your old friends, because your old friends know your tricks, and they're just going to agree with you on everything you say. So, and that stands for personalities as well. I think that they tend to think that this is who they are, and that's pretty much it. But there's such a great opportunity now to kind of use all this amazing social media and other technologies that we can sort of start a fire at any time, a good fire. You don't have to have like an ugly king to stand for what you mean, but you can start a fire on things that you say that you want people to pay attention to because they matter to you. Mm-hmm. And if that works, if you can do that, then the pragmatic notoriety is yours. Absolutely.
Richard Larimer is author of the forthcoming How to Fame, CEO of RLM Public Relations. Thank you, Richard.